We've now got our class-based component, so it's time for us to figure out how to use this to fetch some data for our application. So the first question we must ask ourselves is, when exactly do we want to fetch some data from the API? Like when our program first boots up, when are we going to decide, hey, this is now the time for me to fetch some data from the API and get that list of albums? Well, we probably want to fetch that data as soon as our app boots up. There's no like buttons in this application for the user to press that says like, oh, okay, now I want to load data here. We just want to say, as soon as this thing is about to load up, as soon as it's about to display on the screen, I want to go and fetch some data. So to make that happen, we need some type of like a hook or some event notification of when this component right here is about to be rendered onto the screen of our device. Fortunately, React has us covered. This is one of the benefits of class-based components. Class-based components have a unique advantage over functional components called lifecycle methods. So keyword term there, lifecycle methods. Remember earlier when I mentioned that functional components are like a hose, right? Like some data goes in and JSX comes out. In juxtaposition with that, or kind of opposed to that, are class-based components, which have a lot more knowledge of themselves. Like this class-based component, it knows when it's about to be rendered. It knows when it's about to be removed from the screen. It has more sentience about what's going on inside the application. So they know exactly when they are about to be rendered to the screen, and we can get notification of that by using a lifecycle method. Lifecycle methods are functions that we'll place on our class that will be automatically called at some point. One such lifecycle method is called component will mount. So we can define a method on the class called specifically component will mount. Anytime that our component is about to be rendered to the screen or screen of our device, this method will automatically be executed. It will automatically be called for us. So I'll place component will mount on my class. And now, just because I defined a method specifically with this name, it will automatically be executed as soon as this component is about to be rendered to the screen. So, hey, like, I don't know, maybe I'm telling the truth here, right? Maybe I'm lying, I don't know. Let's throw a console log in here just to verify that, yep, this thing is actually getting called automatically for us. So I'm gonna say console log, and let's just say component will mount in album list. So our expectation here is that when I refresh the simulator, I should see this console log, I don't know, somewhere, right? I should see a console log pop up that says this right here, just instantly. So let's flip over to the simulator and refresh, and oh yeah, where in the world do console logs pop up, right? We haven't spoken about that at all. So we haven't really spoken about how we debug our application with React Native at all. How do we debug this? How do we get any feedback from our application? Clearly, there's no console log here. There's no console log in our terminal, wherever the terminal might be. Here we go. So here's my packager right here. There's no console logs here. So somewhere we must be getting some debug feedback. So to get this debug feedback from React Native, we're going to use the built-in debugger with React Native. While having my simulator focused, I'm going to press Command D on my keyboard to open up the React Native development menu. In the side of this menu, I'm going to find Debug.js remotely, and then just go ahead and click it. When I click it, a Chrome window automatically picks up, or whatever browser you might be using. This Chrome tab right here is automatically linked up to the simulator, and you can kind of think of this as an extension of the React Native application that's running. So I can use this Chrome instance, this Chrome window, to debug my React Native code. Let's see how it works. I'm going to open up the development console by just right-clicking anywhere on the screen, and then click on Inspect. And then if I select the console tab, and let me zoom in a little bit here just to make it nice and large, you can see the console log component will mount in album list. So clearly this Chrome window right here is very cleverly, with some God knows what magic, honestly it is total magic, hooked up to the iOS simulator, and any console logs or any warnings or any errors, anything whatsoever that we place inside of our code is going to appear inside of this browser window here. So having your Chrome window open, hooked up to the React Native emulator, or simulator I should say, is a fantastic way to debug your code. We will be using console logs on and off throughout the rest of this course just to verify that things are running and do some debugging. The one thing that I also want to mention that we won't really be doing too much is that if I want, I can also place debugger statements inside of my code. So I'll place debugger right here, and then if I flip back over to Chrome, flip back over to my my simulator, and if I refresh it, Chrome will automatically hit that debug breakpoint and enter into debug mode. So here we go. So I'm paused on execution right here on the debug statement. And so at this point in time, I can do some console logs, inspect some variables like, hey, what's this? What's the value of this right here? Oh, okay, it's album list. So using debugger statements, absolutely fantastic for figuring out what is going on with your code. Highly recommend it. Okay, so a little bit of a quick aside there about debugging. Getting back on topic, and by the way, I'm going to flip back over and remove that debugger statement. And I'm also going to make sure that I continue execution of my code by clicking the play button right here. And I should now see, yep, I still got album list popping up on the screen. Perfect, okay. So getting back to where we were, clearly component will mount right here is a fantastic location to initiate some loading of data or some HTTP request to go and fetch our data and retrieve it for our application. So let's continue in the next section and figure out exactly how we are going to make that network request.